Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Kyoto Winds. And in case it wasn't clear before, in case there were any questions, it is now definitely confirmed that Kyoto Winds is only the first half of the game. Second half of the game is going to be called Edo Blossoms, and there is no release date yet. But people are speculating the release date will be announced at the next big convention. So basically, this story is going to stop at Chapter 5, in the middle of everybody's routes, right before everybody starts wearing Western clothes. So it is what it is, and hopefully the next game won't take too long to come out. This is so frustrating! But at least, we'll be at the halfway point. When we get the new game, we'll just pick up everybody's routes in the middle, in the order that I play them in here, I guess. So let's jump back into this. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Ah yes, and we left off on Chapter 2, I believe. We just started it. No news of my father came forth the other day, and somber restlessness took hold of me. Originally, it seemed Hijikata granted me approval to accompany the captains on their rounds through Kyoto to search for my dad, but then he called me in. Changed his mind? Excuse me. I saw Okita and Heisuke had been summoned along with me, and I felt a partial sense of relief. It did a little to calm my chattering nerves, and I didn't want to be in a bad spot with Hijikata. You called me? Hijikata seemed to be in a foul mood, so I decided it was best to act with tact in his presence. It's always better to act that way in his presence.
I was thinking about the search for Kodo, but maybe it's best to put a halt to it for now.
But it didn't even start yet. What? But why? We just started looking for him. Stopping now would surely cause any of our leads to run dry. His words stunned me. How could he back out on this? Hijikata remained deeply composed.
We have reports of activity from the Choshu, and they do not bode well for us. It would be highly dangerous for you to be out and about.
I'd heard how the warriors of the Choshu domain associate with the Imperial Nationalist Party. For some reason, they find foreigners repulsive, using brute force to prevent any foreign presence. All of their faith is aligned with the Emperor. The Shinsengumi, on the other hand, serve the Shogun, meaning they're directly opposed. If the Choshu is active, it could mean that my own goal is of little concern to the Shinsengumi. I might become something of a burden to them. So, are you asking me to refrain from joining the rounds until things with the Choshu domain settle? Hijikata nodded and turned toward the two men.
That being said, as of right now, she is not to accompany any rounds without any captains.
Oh, I get it now. And that's why you pulled us in here, right? Heisuke seemed 2 steps behind Hijikata's words until this very moment where it seemed to click. She never caused any trouble during rounds she joined us in. I kind of feel it shouldn't be a problem if she tagged along.
Yeah, even if something were to happen, as long as she doesn't get involved, it should be fine. I mean, it's not like she can run away from us if things get sticky, right?
I won't run. I knew he wasn't being serious, but I couldn't stand to keep my mouth shut. I made up my mind the minute the men of the Shinsengumi agreed to help me find my father. I made a vow to never run from the Shinsengumi for as long as they helped me find my father. My desire to find my father showed no signs of slowing, even since I first arrived in Kyoto. My familial bonds are strong. I will keep my vow. So please allow me to continue looking for my father. I bowed to Okita, keeping my eyes locked with his. Why him? His smirk, however, shrunk slowly as he gazed toward me, caught in between words to say.
Well, if you stay with us, you're putting yourself at risk. If you want that risk, feel free to join us. I mean, we have witness reports that fit the profile and description of Kodo. You may have a point, but are witness reports justification to put her in harm's way? What if you're wrong? What if she's exposed? Do none of you understand? You're placing an unnecessary burden on yourselves.
I promise I won't cause any trouble. Please. If I lose the opportunity to search for my father, then the chances of finding him will sink. I lied prostrate before him, and Hijikata simply sighed heavily.
You better follow orders of every captain you join. No ifs, ands, or buts. Am I clear?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. I didn't know how else to show my gratitude, so I bowed deeply again.
I'm leaving it to your discretion over whether or not you're going to join them. That's on you.
All right. I had to make sure this was the best decision. There was something in his demeanor that made me unsure of my desire to leave the compound. Still, if I was with Okita or Heisuke, I'm sure I'd be safe and well protected. On the other hand, my presence could be an undue burden to them. What was I to do? If I am correct here, if I'm in the right spot, I believe I have to go. I hope this is right. I can't remember the last choice I had to make. Huh? It feels like there are more people walking around than usual. The streets of Kyoto were packed with people shuffling into shops and businesses all over.
Chizuru, mind yourself. Try not to wander off or something. Remember that you're here to keep me company on rounds.
Sorry, I was distracted by all the people. The city is filled with so much more cheer. I guess I just couldn't help myself. Okita's eyes twinkled and he smiled voraciously, and I could sense him relax.
Well, the Gion Festival's coming up. Things are more lively than usual, I'll give you that. Of course, some of those nationalist ronin are acting pretty suspicious too. What I'm saying is, watch yourself, alright?
Okay. We walked down Kyoto's largest street, alongside the First Division. No one came within a few yards of us. They stepped away the moment their eyes caught the bright blue of the Shinsengumi's jackets. I noticed this phenomenon briefly when I first joined the Shinsengumi on their rounds, but it was clear the people of Kyoto feared them. Excuse me. I paused every so often to ask some of the less intimidated passerby if they'd seen my father. I'm looking for someone. He's in his 40s and speaks with an Edo accent. He's a doctor, and he's a friendly, bald man. After a few hours of searching, I met someone who claimed to see a man matching my description.
Oh yeah, I think I might have seen that guy a while back over at Masu's.
As he spoke, he pointed toward a store selling wood and charcoal. Thank you so much. Okita caught my eye and gave me a stern look. He looked as if he was going to reprimand me when...
You there, are you a ronin? Give us the name of your lord, if indeed you even serve one.
A cry came from a Shinsengumi soldier, and Okita turned, his lips tightening into a thin line.
Well, crap. Guess they would choose the worst possible moment to stir up trouble, huh?
His hand dropped to his sword as he ran toward the commotion. Townsfolk shrieked and ran like leaves before a gale. Whoa! In the sudden press of fleeing citizens, I found myself pulled away from Okita. For a moment I panicked, but realized that perhaps it was for the best. If I stayed close, he would have been forced to keep attention on me. I hoped to avoid distracting him. He might be distracted that you're missing. I hid in an alley to watch, and I could return to the First Division once the tension simmered.
Hey, kid, over here. You don't want to get yourself caught up in that.
Huh? I paused for a moment. A strange man was inviting me into his store. Not strange on the face of it, perhaps, but I was warned many times to be on my guard. I was about to politely refuse when I realized it was the store to which the man pointed earlier. Excuse me, but is this Masu's?
Yes, it is.
Great. You see, I'm looking for someone and...
Mr. Keimon,
I just saw that kid with Okita, the Shinsengumi captain.
What?
Huh? I'm not of the Shinsengumi.
The Shinsengumi, run for it!
No, it's not like that. I'm just looking for someone. Even if I had been walking with them, the reaction of the store's customers seemed excessive.
You really have the worst luck, don't you? Still, well, I guess you could say the same about them. Or me.
He gave a small, unconcerned shrug and leapt through the door of the shop. Masu's exploded with the clang of blades, men swearing and scrambling across furniture. What's the meaning of this? What on earth just happened? Ah! When we returned to the Shinsengumi headquarters, Sanin had a number of less than pleasant words. Words that we cannot share, apparently. We kneeled for some time, as the colonel berated us before Okita finally spoke up.
You don't need to lose your head over it, Sanin. After all, we arrested a couple of Choshu people.
When the fight was over, we discovered a massive arms cache and confiscated the entire thing. No one bothered to explain to me what was happening, however, and I was utterly lost.
Not something to lose my head over. My head is right where it belongs, Okita. Perhaps you should inquire after yours. The man claiming to be Keimon Masu was in truth Shuntaro Furutaka, a Choshu spy.
You were aware that the Shinsengumi was allowing him to operate in hopes of gathering enemy intel?
Yes, I was. But we didn't have a choice this time. I had to bring him in.
It was all my fault.
Well, it's not like it was a total bust. Like Soji said, they did arrest some guys.
Don't you feel bad for Shimada and Yamazaki? They were staking out to keep an eye on Furutaka. The corners of Heisuke's mouth twitched into a smile, but Shimada interrupted him to continue.
We appreciate your concern, Todo, but nobody needs to lose any sleep on our account.
Aw, I like Yamazaki's green outfit better. This is almost exactly the same except it's blue instead of green. I think I like green on him.
We were getting nowhere with Masu's the last few days anyway. Okita did us a favor.
Yamazaki nodded in silent agreement.
Furutaka's arrest is over and done. You won't hear any complaints from us about it. Man, you two are the definition of stoic and reasonable. Soji, on the other hand.
It didn't seem Nagakura was going to let Okita get away without rubbing his mistake in his face. Both Kai Shimada and Susumu Yamazaki serve as Shinsengumi officers and spies under Hijikata. Aside from the captains who stay at the Yagi residence, they're some of the few people entrusted with the knowledge of my situation. In other words, these men are highly valued officers within the organization. Despite their resounding support, I felt a rush of guilt sweep over me, and I spoke up. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. Some Ronin were causing trouble, so I tried to get out of the way. I got separated from Okita in the crowd, and I didn't go right back to him. Before I realized what was going on, someone just started shouting at me.
But who was tasked with looking after you?
He glared at me, his eyes hard and angry, and my throat tightly clenched in a dryness.
The captain of our 1st Division can't even track a charge. Is this the best the Shinsengumi can do?
When I'd first met him, Sanin had been nice, if a little quiet. After his injury, however, it was as if he'd become an entirely different man. It's up to us to heal him.
I told her she could go. They were only following orders.
Sanin looked up as Hijikata walked into the room. He gave the commander a tight wry smile, but got only a peaceful impartial glance in return.
If you're here, that means you're done interrogating Furutaka, right? They're going to wait for a day when the wind picks up, then set Kyoto on fire, and kidnap the Emperor while everyone else is losing their crap. So they say at least.
His voice was calm and measured, but we all felt the import of his words.
Burn down the city! Those Choshi guys are crazier than I thought!
So, they just want to kidnap the Emperor? Seems a little contradictory for a bunch of guys who call themselves imperialists.
Whatever their reasons, we cannot ignore them. They're probably meeting tonight. We need to get ready to move out. Understood, Commander. Alright, finally! I'm getting chills!
Even though each man displayed his professionalism differently, they were all clearly prepared. As they quieted down, Hijikata turned toward me, as if he had only just noticed my presence.
We did get some information on Kodo. Apparently he visited Masu's with some men from the west.
What?
So the rumors that he was seen in Kyoto were true, but that's all there is to it.
My father with someone from the west? But my father went missing in Kyoto. How would he be with someone from the west? Who knows what could have happened? But no one had an answer for me. Susumu Yamazaki's warrior record has been released. Cool. I don't know what the warrior records are yet, but I'll find out later. Preparations for the raid began immediately. Within moments, the compound was like a beehive, with soldiers and officers running back and forth. The tension felt thick enough to cut with a knife. I found it affecting me despite my best efforts. My encounter at Masu's created some of their current headache, and I'd hoped to make up for it. Hey, can I... Oh. It became clear to me that I had very little to offer when it came to preparing for a raid. At the end of the day, all I could do was stay quietly to the side to avoid being a burden. Just then, I heard someone's voice out of the blue.
We don't have enough men. Kondo has only 10 soldiers ready to fight. Hijikata and I have 24 apiece, right? Everyone's sick. Not so funny, eh, Saito?
Oh, that's right. There were a handful of men who were bedridden from a swift food poisoning epidemic, leaving them short-handed in battle. They planned on dividing the troops in half. Kondo's troops will go to Ikeda Inn, and Hijikata's troops will head to Shikoku Inn.
So you think we'll bring them along on this one? It's a night mission, it'd be perfect.
Them?
We lost a couple the other day, but there should be a few left, right? I heard they won't be seeing combat for a while. They're having some difficulties adjusting. They stop listening to orders as soon as they see blood. It's rather inconvenient.
What? I swore I heard something before about a reaction to blood, but this was something I wasn't supposed to hear. The two men hadn't recognized I was listening to their conversation, but it was crucial that I didn't say anything.
They've got to be spinning in their graves. Didn't they choose to do this so they could fight? Sano, you only say that after someone's actually dead.
Yeah, they're not in their graves.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They aren't really dead, are they? In fact, they're even harder to kill now.
There was no doubt that what I was hearing was not meant for my ears. I shoved my fingers into my ears and closed my eyes tightly. The best I could do was make sure I didn't hear anything else.
Oh, what are you doing here, Yukimura?
My eyes flew open to see Kondo in front of me. I couldn't just sit there. I told him the truth, how I felt so useless, and left my room to find some way to help.
Oh, of course, I see. I know how you feel. The men are pretty excited, aren't they?
Yes. Excited? More like bloodthirsty, to be honest.
Would you care to join us?
What? That was not what I'd expected him to say. You mean go on a raid with you? I don't know what I could...
You see, many of the men are out with food poisoning, so we're sort of understaffed. Well, we could certainly use a messenger, but if you'd rather not, there's no need to feel obligated.
You raise a good point. Now that he mentioned it, I did remember hearing that Kondo's troop only had 10 people in it. Well, alright, if I'll just be a messenger. His face split into a grin, and I found myself on the way to Ikeda Inn to accompany their raid. Kondo's presence was relieving, and his good nature gave me comfort in asking him a question. Kondo? Your uniform is different than the one your other men wear. The Shinsengumi's unique light blue uniform made it so anyone in Kyoto would recognize them. However, Kondo's uniform was white, almost cream, setting him apart from his men.
Oh, this white uniform is for charging into dark areas, allowing us to see each other with more clarity.
I see. I didn't know the core uniform came in so many varieties. Their usual uniform was well-fitting, and the color stood out, but this white uniform was more elegant. I smiled while I looked at his uniform, and I braced myself for what was to come. You don't have to brace yourself yet, got some time. Hour of the dog. After we arrived at Ikeda, I was sent off on several short errands nearby. I returned to hear Nagakura talking to Okita.
Well, looks like we hit the jackpot on this one. Not sure if they're brave or stupid for meeting right next to the government building. I knew they'd be here. After all, I've always been at Ikeda before. Sure, but the night Furutaka gets arrested? That just seems sloppy to me. Aren't they afraid of looking suspicious? Oh, obviously they're somewhat less than normal. They are meeting at the Ikeda Inn, aren't they?
Nagakura and Okita's conversation was very lighthearted, which didn't quite suit the subject matter. Perhaps the Choshu were trying to trick the Shinsengumi. I certainly wouldn't have known. Whatever the reason for their behavior, however, neither Nagakura nor Okita seemed worried. Heisuke noticed me as I approached and jogged over.
So, how'd it go, Chizuru? Did you see anyone from Aizu or the Judiciary Commissioner?
To be honest, I didn't really see anyone nearby.
So, they still haven't made their move. We told them even before it started to get dark.
Settle down, Heisuke.
The larger man smacked Heisuke playfully on the shoulder with a bark of laughter.
Besides, it won't do us any good if they show up. If this is going to happen, we've got to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I guess. It's just, don't you think running in on our own is a little reckless?
Heisuke frowned, and Takeda, who was on standby near Heisuke, nodded in agreement.
Charging with this amount of men is reckless. We should wait for the Aizudomain's reinforcements. If you say so, Takeda. Alright, why don't we wait a little longer?
But no matter how long we waited, the officials never came. Hour of the boar. I looked up at the sky. The moon inched itself further across the sky since we'd arrived at the Ikeda Inn.
Damn it, it's getting pretty late. What do you want to do, Kondo? It'd be pretty lame if we just sat here all night.
The chief had been quiet all this time, but when Okita readdressed him, he finally stood up to speak.
We can't wait a moment longer. Soji, Nagakura, Todo, you lot follow me.
Okita nodded quietly but firmly.
Well, I will secure the front entrance, so you guys have at it.
What? Are you not going to come, Takeda?
That's all good. I mean, we don't want him in the dark, and then mistakenly stabbing us, you know? Oh, actually, we may mistakenly stab him. Okita, what are you suggesting? No. If you want someone charging, we want someone reliable anyways. So, with that said, take care of the outside, Takeda. Huh. Yukimura, can you stay away from the Ikeda Inn? Things are going to get dangerous. That place is full of rebel soldiers. We don't intend to allow them to escape, but better safe than sorry.
All right. Not much of a fighter anyway. He stood up, smiled curtly, and ran into the inn.
We are the Shinsengumi retainers of the Lieutenant General of the Aizu Domain. By imperial decree, you are all under arrest.
His declaration was met with a cacophony of yells and screams erupting from out of the inn.
Giving the enemy a good loud warning that he's about to kick the tar out of them. Well, that's Kondo for you. Seems good form anyway. It's polite to let them know what they're up against.
Oh, so your definition of good form is putting us at a disadvantage?
Heisuke and Nagakura grinned at one another as they sauntered toward the inn.
We act with the authority of the government. Resist and you will be shown no mercy.
Then the battle began in earnest. The yells of men and the clang of swords filled the air, rolling out through the doors and windows of the inn. I heard feet pound upstairs, the screams of men dying, the wet thud of bodies dropping to the floor.
Damn it, there's too many of them. We need backup. Is there anybody still out there?
Well, there was someone, but... All the men who'd come with the captains ran around the back and couldn't hear Nagakura. Takeda, on the other hand, was stationed outside to arrest anyone trying to flee the building. What should I do? The only person left to go help them was me. But even if I did, what could I do? That was when I heard Kondo.
Soji, are you alright?
Nagakura called out from somewhere else in the inn.
Damn it, Heisuke, don't die on me!
Oh no! I had no desire to enter the slaughterhouse with men killing one another. Even if I did, I had no illusions about my skill with a blade. I was sure to be killed before I'd even drawn it. But I could hardly stand around doing nothing. Perhaps if I couldn't fight, I could rescue the wounded, find them, and carry them out of the inn. I made up my mind, steeled myself, and ran inside. Inside, it was pitch black. The smell of blood hit me in the stomach like a fist filling the air. There were dark lumps on the floor everywhere, the bodies of fallen men. Where were Okita and Heisuke? It had sounded like a good idea at the time, but as I looked around the charnel house, I realized there was no way I could carry two men outside. Maybe one at a time? What should I do? Geez, I don't know, I think I made a mistake before, maybe. I think I gotta scope things out. If I wander aimlessly in the darkness of the Ikeda Inn, I'm only going to become a nuisance. I should scope things out. I looked around the inn.
Yaw!
What? Out of the darkness, a Ronin appeared, his sword at the ready and headed straight for me. Ah! As his sword swept down, another interposed itself between us, Nagakura's blade. Oh, he looked so hot there. You saved me!
You're fighting me, pal. You don't get to run off unless I say you can. Ah!
The Ronin gurgled wetly as Nagakura drove his sword deep into the man's stomach. Blood exploded everywhere. Ugh. I felt my throat suddenly rise. So much blood.
Sorry to ask you this right now, but do you think you could go check upstairs? Nobody's getting past me, so can you go check for me, just to be sure?
I wanted to help, but I was so focused on his hand. Nagakura, your hand! His left hand was drenched in bright crimson blood, as if the hand was simply gone. It looks awful! Nagakura glanced down at it and laughed.
That? Didn't even know I had it. I'm fine, alright? Doesn't even hurt. Stop making that face.
Yeah, I definitely made a wrong choice somewhere along the way. Darn it. Alright, right now, I'm going to go back. Alright, I think I was supposed to remain at the compound right here. Alright, I'm really sorry about that, but I think this is going to be the right path, because the decisions were too different from the translated guide, and nobody's started making an official guide yet that I can find. If anybody can find a guide for me to follow, please let me know, because all I can find is Japanese ones. Alright, so we're starting over from that last choice again. It's from that one choice. After contemplating, I decided to stay in. I thought that was kind of weird to leave because I thought, well, Sanen's here. Shouldn't I be staying here with him? I couldn't convince myself that I wouldn't be a burden to them during dangerous situations. Still, it was disheartening to think about. Another dull day spent inside. Throughout the past 6 months, I was allowed to finally search for my father on the rounds, and I felt like a part of the house by contributing. Even though sometimes I was occupied with cleaning or cooking, it seemed like I was serving my part to the Shinsengumi in a meaningful way. I spent most of my time with the captains, but there were many opportunities to chat with the warriors and come to know them as real people. Oh, so we are chatting with them now. Maybe they were starting to think of me as a warrior in training rather than Hijikata's page. These worrying thoughts made me so anxious, I was turning numb. The idea that I had become so dependent on the Shinsengumi at this moment. What should I do today? I was resigned to the consequences of my decision, something that I felt was wasting away the tender moments of my life in these headquarters. I was, in short, with nothing to do. All right. I decided to enter the inner courtyard, where maybe I could feel a pleasant breeze tingle my face in the shade. The quaintness may calm me down. Damn it! Alas, no winds blew through the courtyard today. No reprieve from the harsh sun bearing down upon this dry emptiness. I had a feeling it was going to be a bad day. Shade was the best I could hope for, it seemed. I sighed, sitting in whatever shade I could find. Something occurred to me as the sun roasted Kyoto. Oh, right. My father's been here, hasn't he? They mentioned it, but they hadn't told me why. Was he tending to the injured? Or perhaps educating the Shinsengumi on how to avoid illness? Maybe he'd intended to stay here long term. My father never mentioned he had been with the Shinsengumi. He visited only a few times, or so I'd been told. If he'd really been their doctor, then he would have visited far more often, which left me with the question, why? It was extremely clear to me that the Shinsengumi had plenty of secrets, but I grew suspicious that these secrets deeply implicated my father as well. No, that can't be right, can it? I shook my head again, trying my best to dispel the dark thoughts taking shape. What can't be right? Ah! Just the person I was hoping to see. I spun around to find that Sanen had walked behind me, utterly undetected and unannounced. Oh, Sanen! Is it all right for you to be walking around? Please, I'm no bedridden invalid. There's nothing wrong with me. There was a hint of coldness to his words. Although my left hand is something of an invalid. I couldn't bear to look at the sad, twisted smile he gave me. His arm hadn't healed, and it seemed certain now it never would. The rest of the captains seemed sure he would never be able to use his arm as he'd done before. Okay, and that's going to be a short video, I'm sorry, but my neighbor just started mowing the lawn, and that's going to be a big detriment to recording, so I have to end the video there. Sorry about that. I can't let the rest of this recording be unbalanced. Darn it, it's a big drawback to recording during the day, or trying to anyway. So, I hope to see you in the next episode. Sorry about my screw up before, it's a little difficult following a Japanese translated guide. But we've gotta be on track with Sanen now. But again, anyway, hope to see you for the next video, or some of my other ones. And I'd be grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.